Hi, my name is Zach Serrano. This is my RWS 1302 end of semester journal. The issue I went throughout the semester that I talked about throughout the semester was the obesity epidemic in America. I looked at a lot of the corporations and like the way they advertise, the way as a society that we view obesity, and the way that we eat, like overconsume a lot of foods, stuff like that. I learned massively that the epidemic's bigger than you can even imagine. That a huge portion of American citizens, from adults to children to multiple different ethnicities, all suffer from obesity, and that minorities are actually targeted primarily by this epidemic, being affected by it either through just from repercussions from corporations, putting in these low market, high calorie foods, or just the way they are advertised or the way they're targeted in terms of low income areas that are heavily populated by minorities having more of these low fast food options, basically these cheaper but high taking foods on your body, such as McDonald's or whatever, being them mainly in these low income areas. I believe I was able to learn a lot about the epidemic and was able to see how society is when it comes to treating obesity, to the way that we live as a society. Very unhealthy, very, there's times where promotion of health and wellness are there, but it's not enough to outweigh the damage that we have done as a society in terms of how much unhealthy food there is out there that gets consumed by many of the most of the population. There's a huge gap when you look at something like health and fitness, and then you look at something like just being unhealthy. It's a lot easier to be unhealthy in today's society than it is to be healthy, and that has a lot to do with everything that comes down to the corporations that make these, like I mentioned before, like make these terrible foods for you the norm and the cheaper, more accessible thing. When it comes to the healthier, actually beneficial foods for you, they don't exist for a lot of people, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's society's fault, and it's the corporation's fault for making obesity such a normalized thing. And yeah, that we're trying to stop it in terms of a medical way and treating these symptoms, but we should be trying to stop the people from getting obese. That's the real issue here, is how easy it is to become obese in today's society. I've always kind of believed that obesity as a whole should just always be looked as an issue. I don't think as a society we should see someone that is struggling with obesity and think about it as a positive thing. I don't see how that's beneficial for anyone. They're hurting their health, and I think that's as simple as it is. Obesity is a mean subject, because while you can't go up to someone and tell them, hey, like, you need to work on your health, or you need to fix this, you need to fix this, you need to do this, it's gonna, it's hurtful. It's a hurtful thing. But like the saying goes, the truth hurts. America is suffering from obesity as a whole, and stop funding these corporations and letting them profit off of us. And I know it's hard when um, there's some people that can't even like resist it, in terms of like I mentioned before, like the minorities in low income areas. Like, from the research I did, they're screwed over completely by obesity and the corporations. They don't even get an option on being healthy, and I think that's an area we need to improve on, and that's gonna be hard to do in terms of, as a common person. It's hard to go to a big, billion-dollar corporation and say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. This is bad. This isn't good. This is this is just terrible. indirectly killing people just for profits. And same thing can go said about any terms of these fast food corporations. You look at these European countries and it's just, it doesn't even compare. It doesn't even compare to the the numbers that we were doing over here in America. And I think it's something we really need to look into, really need to research and, fund for the next couple of years. My assignments really just went over all those things. Or the local field one talked about how obesity as a whole just kind of affects my personal community in El Paso. And then the broader one was talking in general of the country as a whole. I looked over a couple, videos for the genre analysis assignment, the YouTube videos, and they were a couple years old, a little bit old, I think about 10, a little over 10 years old, I think. So they're a little outdated in terms of the actual, the content, but it's still very relevant. It's stuff we're still dealing with, just in a smaller scale. He talks about, the minorities in the low-income areas. And at this point, it was kind of barely, or not barely starting, but it wasn't as bad as it is now. And it's something to look at. And I didn't look at it in a, the genre analysis was more like a dissection of like what they were doing, basically. I was able to get an idea how, basically what I'm going to see for the next upcoming weeks on different assignments. I'm going to see multiple different takes of corporations. I'm going to see multiple different takes of I'm just going to see multiple different takes of everything. That's basically what I got out of when I was looking at the genre analysis. I was able to get a good look on how obesity just affects the country as a whole. I think that was the most important thing from the genre analysis video, is it gave me a broad idea how, there's different aspects that obesity affects the country. And then recently, I just did my multi-module assignment, or my PSA, sorry. I did my PSA assignment, which I just kind of, summed everything up and made a PSA talking about the issues that obesity brings to this country, and that we need to basically, look into a way of fixing it. And then promoted the Obesity Society, which is one of the organizations I looked into when I was doing the broader field of research. I looked into the Obesity Society, and they're one I was actually interested in. So that's basically how my semester went. I learned a lot about obesity. It gave me a new insight on obesity. It made me really just passionate about it, if that makes sense. I'm a big fitness guy. I work out a lot, and connecting it to obesity and just kind of seeing how big of a population there is that doesn't prioritize their health when it's the biggest thing to us as humans. It hurts. It hurts, and I hate seeing that there, I know I keep bringing corporations, but that's one of the biggest things I noticed when I was researching everything, was that corporations are the biggest things to blame in this. And that's basically it. Yeah. Thank you. To briefly go over like the minor assignments, I learned a lot from them. It really helped me see a lot of social issues, especially in the TED Talks. The TED Talks talked about a lot of things such as Native American history that I didn't know about, but I think is important to us. And just a lot of things like kinship care, the jail reformation, or not jail reformation, but is it the second chance clause or something like that? Important things that we should know about, like, that are going on. And it's good to know, like, it was good information to get in. It was good information to write about and to reflect about. Same thing with the readings. The readings didn't help me connect. There was one in particular that I really did like, which was the one where they talk about like having online friendships and things like that, and something I could really reflect to. And that was probably the reading I engaged the most with, since it was something I could directly look at and basically like reflect with and relate to. So yeah, the minor assignments, they were helpful, and not just for getting a grade, but it was interesting work, being able to reflect weekly on something new that I didn't really like know about or have any prior knowledge too much about, things like that.